Hi, this is, I guess, part two, unless I can figure out how to edit what I did last time and join it seamlessly together. But the last video that I did about my bike accident ended when my wife came home. Well, not I knew she was coming, but I just thought I'd maybe get it. She never lets me know when she's coming back. So I just had to stop it because I can't really talk in the way that I need to when all the dogs are barking and stuff. This is Betty, the poodle. She's currently pregnant, aren't you, darling? Good kissy. No kisses from Betty. And then we have over there Macy. That's Betty's mum. So dogs may bark, but my wife shouldn't be coming home. All the kids are at school, so I can just waffle along. Anyway, so in the last part, I got to the X-ray department. So I do know that I keep rubbing my nose. I don't know what it is. It's itchy. So anyway, and my head. I haven't got fleas or anything. Just I don't know. You don't realise how until you make a video of yourself. You don't realise that you have all these like affectations or whatever they are, habits. They come out when you watch yourself back. But anyway, I know that I digress quite a lot. So yeah, I was wheeled in on a bed to await my X-ray, and yeah, I think I said that the cannula had failed, and that becomes important later on in the story. That they tried to put a cannula in my arm twice, once in my hand and once in my arm, and really fucked it up. Like, I mean, it looked bad. You know, it was like an extra injury I didn't need at the time, and left bruising for weeks afterwards. But I'm glad they didn't get it in. So I I was waiting to get X-rayed. Sorry, doggy. Waiting to get X-rayed, and there was an old woman in there. I don't know if she had dementia or what, but she seemed a bit scatty. And there was a young lad in there who was, I think, what do they call them? People that push people about in hospitals. They do all the work and get very little of the money. That's quite a lot of the staff, unless it's management. But there you go. And he was sort of like flirting with the old woman, which I've always found quite grotesque. Young blokes flirting with ancient women. I would be horrified if somebody flirted with my mother, who isn't ancient. She's older. She's in her 70s. But even that, I think it just becomes. I think flirting with extremely old people is as obnoxious, or nearly as obnoxious, as people flirting with very young people, if you see where I'm coming from. Yeah, humans are, or should, be able to differentiate between somebody who's very young and somebody who's very old, and the usual like rules don't apply to them in so many ways. And that's all I'll say on that, because that's a whole fucking different subject that I don't want to get into. There goes my phone, but that will just be the only like point our landline seems to have is to allow Indian call centres to like give us junk calls. Just listening to it now. Yeah. As soon as it hears that they can leave a message, they immediately cut off. Such wankers. So anyway, yeah, X-ray, old woman, young man flirting with her, grotesque. And then I was wheeled in myself to get X-rayed, and joy of joys, that day is the day where they have a trainee, obviously a trainee or a student, or however it works with X-rays. And she seemed nice, yes, but incompetent. and that didn't cheer me up, because I do believe that there was more of an injury to my hip than they picked up on the X-ray. Because I'm sorry, but fucking 4 weeks later, and I'm still getting pains in my hip. I don't know. Maybe that is okay. Anyway, they X-rayed me. I was off my tits on codeine at this point. So the fact that they asked me to like lift my arm up, when, I mean, even now it's quite sore. Get it to about, yeah, I don't want to go any higher than that. The phone isn't quite straight. 6 people that watch this video, I want them to be able to see it as straight as possible. So yeah, that was the X-ray done, and then I was taken to a different room to wait for a doctor to see me. And we'd been in hospital probably for about an hour and 20 minutes at this point. So I'm thinking, oh, it's going really quick and everything's cool. So we were put into this little cubicle, and it's like hell on earth. I mean, I should describe it really. I mean, it's part of the experience. Like I said earlier on, about it's like a scene from like the reception bit where you're in first is like a scene from a horror film or an end of the world film, an apocalypse film, and then or a disaster movie. And that's bad. And then you see a doctor in a little cubicle, and then you go for your X-ray, and then you put into another little cubicle in a room full of cubicles. And we were there for the next 8 hours. And the only time anybody came to see us was to give me pain relief. Most of the time I had to ask for that. They were giving me liquid morphine, which I'd never had before. And I guessed at its potency because you got this like little cup about so big, and it was, maybe 5 millimeters depth. So it was about sort of that wide and about that high and about 5 millimeters. So it's probably 5 milliliters, I don't know, of liquid in there. And normally I use Imperial, because I'm from England and that's what we use. So 5 mil, quarter of an inch, something like that. And you drink it, and 10 minutes later you're like, whoa, happy days, because you are now a junkie, and or a would-be junkie. So that kept the pain away, but I was lying on this bed, and we hadn't been told how to operate the back bit. So all my weight is going down through my ass, which is incredibly sore because it's hit the ground at 22 mile an hour or more. And you sort of like, because this shoulder is fucked, you can't like lift yourself up to sort of adjust yourself because of the pain. Even with the morphine, the pain was quite exquisite. So for the 8 hours or so, you're dealing with that. And then there was a woman who'd overdosed, came in. She was like howling for, she wanted more of the drugs that she'd overdosed on. There was a woman with dementia. There was a woman who was actually younger than me, but looked about 20 years older, who was regaling anyone that would listen with tales of a terrible life. The beatings, the drug addiction, the alcoholism, which I'm not criticising, because I'm working class myself, and there, but for the grace of God go I. There's individuals in my upbringing who certainly were not good examples, shall we say. So I know how easy it is to become like her. I've met people like that and spoken to them in the course of my life, and I certainly am not criticising somebody purely for the shit that they were born into and don't manage to get themselves out of it. I do have a fucking problem with people who are born rich and then fuck it up, or criticise people who are poor simply for not being born rich like they were. That fucking winds me right up. But anyway, I have nothing against that woman. But it just added to the cornucopia of misery. So I'm in incredible pain. I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. I'm desperate not to be like in hospital overnight because I I really don't think that it's a good place to be right now. So yeah, my wife spoke to me. I don't remember everything. I'm not going to sit here and regale or try and regale you with an 8-hour long story or 9-hour long story. Although, if you've got this far, it's probably feeling that way right now, and I don't apologise. Nobody forced you to press play. So yeah, so all that was going on, and my wife every once in a while would go and ask for some more pain relief. And every time you get this little tiny cupful of morphine, and then the pain disappears for a couple of hours. And there was one thing that should be mentioned. Now, I don't know whether this was like post-trauma concussion. There's no doubt I had a concussion. The back of my helmet was smashed, and to smash a really thick piece of polystyrene like that is quite difficult. So there's no doubt I had a concussion. And my wife had just gone to go and get me some more pain relief, and my ass was in fucking chronic numbness. My hip was hurting, and I needed to just move. And without thinking, I put my right arm behind me and put my weight on it, and everything around the edge of my vision just went fucking white, and I could just see 2 tiny little fucking pinpricks of life and reality, like looking the wrong way through a telescope. Tiny little bit of life, and I'm thinking, I do not want to pass out here. I'm not going to pass out here. No fucking way. These bastards will keep me in overnight, and I'm hearing too many fucking tales of woe about people that are in hospital at the moment, and I don't want to fucking become a statistic. So I fought, as in FOUGHT, to remain conscious. A huge amount of willpower to not pass out. And I gradually became aware that I was just covered in sweat. And that immediately chilled, and I got very cold. And my vision started to open up again. But I was shaking, which was causing agony in my shoulder. And my wife turned up, and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm just like, I don't really know what's wrong. I'm just struggling to stay awake. And I stayed awake. And I'd obviously moved my arm back into a more comfortable position. And I don't know about the timeline, because I was fucking out of it, But eventually some doctor came who looked about as old as my 17-year-old son, and seemed a little bit partially trained, should we say? Not the finished product by any means. And he was like, "Oh, we've looked at your X-ray, and it's fine. There's nothing broken. You can go home." Yeah. And I'm like, "I think you maybe need to check that X-ray again." And he was like, "Oh, okay then. I'll go and speak to my my fucking superior." So then this second doctor comes back, and he's clearly sort of late 20s, early 30s, and very much immediately fills you with confidence, his demeanour, etc. And he says, "What you've got is an ACJ. The bones in your shoulder have all come apart, and tendons are doing strange things, and it's a bit of a mess in there. But it's not something we keep you in for. So you are free to go. And this was after 9. I mean, it literally, they got the X-ray and went, sent somebody over to me. I sent him back. He comes back over and tells me I can go, and that's it. And I'm like, are you sure? I said, this seems a little bit more than a nothing. So then he gets me to move my arm in different planes, and I'm like, doing this and that and whatever. And but because of the range of movement that I had, even though I was nearly fainting while moving my arm, he's like, pain relief, go home, rest, and an appointment will be made for you with the orthopedics department. So I'm okay, all right. And my tale is nearly over now. Hopefully, I've gone 16 minutes already, and so I'm told that I'll get some pain relief before I go, because I'm about due for that anyway. So anyway, this nurse comes over, and she can't speak a fucking word of English. She's got a big syringe of liquid morphine. I mean, the fucking thing is full. And up until now, I've had little tiny weeny bits of morphine, and as ever, I'm suspicious. And I asked her, I said, are you going to inject that into me? And she's like, she doesn't speak a word of English, so she doesn't know what I'm talking about. And so I'm trying to create a new form of sign language that describes a needle being pushed into my arm. And she's like, she says something in whatever language it is that she speaks, and laughs because she wants to squirt it in my mouth. That's literally what she said. Well, no, she didn't say it. She said, I don't know what language it was. I'd never heard that language before, which says something for multicultural Britain dweller that I am. And the two doctors are there, my wife's there, and she puts it in my mouth and she squirts the fucking lot, right? My mouth is completely full of liquid morphine, completely full. I could have gargled that fucking shit easily. And I'm thinking, that's too much liquid morphine. If I swallow that, I'm going to be out like a fucking light. That motherfucker could stop my heart. Because up until now, I've had probably a sixth of what she's now given me. And so that has been working really quite well. So I'm thinking that much is a heart stopper. And because of the inexperience of the first doctor, and because this woman can't speak a word of fucking English, I put some in my mouth, and luckily I've got a plastic cup in my hand, and I spit most of it out. So I bet you really like that noise. And okay, lie down. I'm not going to rub your tummy. No, not doing it. Lie down. Okay, just a little rub. There we go. There we go. A little tummy rub. That's all they want. Tummy rubs. So, she's licking my hand now, but not too excessively. That's good. So yeah, I spat some of it out and swallowed a bit, and then it was time for me to leave. And my really nice lycra top had been cut off me, because obviously I couldn't bend my arm to, that's a chessy rub now. Yes. Okay. And so I only had the hospital vest thing that attaches around the back. I hate them fucking things. And a blanket. And I can't walk. I mean, I literally can't walk. I'm fucked. I'm in so much pain. So my wife rolls me out there in a wheelchair, and then she brings the car around as close as she can, and gets the wheelchair as close as she can, and then I've got to walk, and it's only 2 or 3 meters, and fucking hell, oh my god, I'm not a wimp. I can take quite a lot of pain. I've had, probably said this already, but I've had teeth chiseled out of my jaw. I've had injections into my teeth when they've been infected and the anaesthetic hasn't worked, and I've had the nerve pulled out with no anaesthetic. So I know what fucking pain is. Not to mention, like, working with my hands. These are working class hands, and they've been scraped, cut, crushed, twisted, broken. So I know what pain is, but this was on a new level of pain. This was unbelievable, and I pray to the Lord Almighty that's about as bad as pain can be, and I've got a horrible fucking feeling that it isn't. And if it isn't, I don't ever want to feel pain close to that again. And those 3 meters, or 2.7, whatever it was, 12 feet, were so painful. Just like nearly passing out of every shuffle, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't step, I was literally shuffling, and everything hurt. And then the cold hit me. Fuck me. It was like blowing, not a gale, but it was fucking cold. It wasn't 0, but it was cold enough to set me shivering. And so as my shoulder and everything started to shiver, my shoulders then now moving around, and just amplifying the pain over and over again to an amplitude unknown. But it was very painful. And then I had to get in the car. And my wife has got a BMW 3 Series Estate, and the fucking thing is tiny. It's like a fucking Vauxhall Viva from the 70s. It's tiny. In fact, a Vauxhall Viva would be bigger. It's more like getting into an old style Mini, the original shape. And because it's low down as well, I had to drop. I'm 6'2", so of course I've got further to go than a short arse, and so agony in hip, agony in shoulder, and then I've got to like move my feet, and my feet, when they move, if my right leg sort of goes a bit more than my left leg, so if it goes like that, the fucking pain in the joint again is just like which makes you go and then makes you go with your shoulder. So it's just like a pain multiplier going on. Oh, that noise, by the way, if you can hear the background noise, that's like a fan, a heat activated fan on my wood burning stove. So it's not that cold today, but the poodle, she's just been had a haircut, and she's pregnant, and so she was shivering with the cold, so I've put the fire on and then as pops and things will be the logs popping in the fire. So just in case you give a shit, just in case there's anybody actually listening to this. And so then we're in the car eventually, and I'm just like, it's how people go when they're in intense pain. You'll know if you've ever had it. Plus, by this point, it's fucking 10 or 11 hours I've been in pain. And I had liquid morphine, but it doesn't. It works if you don't move. As soon as you start moving, the pain's amplified, and you just get more pain. I mean, maybe that's why they wanted to give me that huge dose at the end. Maybe what they'd been giving me wasn't enough. I don't know. I really don't know. But I didn't like it. And to be quite honest, I'd rather have a bit of pain than risk being fucking rubbed out by somebody's mistake. So, yeah, we're driving home now, and every fucking bump. Again, this car's got really hard suspension, low profile tyres. I mean, why the fuck do car makers insist on making everything look like a fucking 90s touring car with oversized wheels, ridiculous profile tyres, and a sports suspension. Makes the fucking things undrivable when you've got like injuries. Anyway, I'm bumping about and fucking every time she goes around a corner, oh my god, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. And then I get home and I've got to get out of the car now. It hasn't warmed up. It's about 2 in the morning. Fucking not freezing, but that's just a figure of speech. Fucking freezing is a figure of speech that means that it was quite cold. So get out of the car. It's the same as before. It's about the same distance. That's what I thought. And I didn't mention like the first time I was doing it at the hospital and the second time. My wife, God bless her, she goes, do you want to stop for a second? And I'm like, no, fucking no, 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 no. Because I know that if I stop, I'm going to get colder, it's going to get worse, and I'm just prolonging the process. But I'm in so much pain, I can't explain that to my wife. So she just thinks I'm shouting at her. Which, I love my wife very much. Let that go on permanent record. But fucking hell, she is the perpetual victim. It's like, fucking hell, stop it. Not everything is an attack on you personally. Get it through your head. I don't think she ever will. Her mother is also a perpetual victim. Whatever. So, yeah, I get into the house and we've got like 2 steps coming into the house, which normally not a problem. But when you've got a hideously bruised or partially strained joint in your hip, those steps were pretty fucking awful. So I got into the house, and then I got onto. In fact, the seat where I'm sitting now was where I slept for 2 weeks because I couldn't lie down, and I was in so much pain that this was all I had to do. Just sort of like moves like that and back again. Yeah, so and then I got some more codeine, and that was that. That's where I stayed, here in the seat for 2 weeks, and then I found after 2 weeks I could lie down. We've got a single bed settee in the room where I showed you where the poodle was sitting earlier, and I slept there then, and the fucking pain. It's never ending. I was very aware of not getting addicted to codeine, and it was very difficult in the first couple of weeks because I had to take it. I just couldn't function without it. So I was taking codeine constantly for 2 weeks, as much as you can like safely take anyway, and paracetamol, and that kept the pain at bay. But it made me a bit thick-headed, and I also believe, it was never diagnosed, but you can't really diagnose the concussion because the effects can take 48 hours to sort of come in, if you know what I mean. So I know that I was fairly rational just after, but the following day and the day after that and for the next 2 weeks, I was a bit of a cunt, and I felt totally justified in being a cunt to my wife, and I fell out with my son. I've never fallen out with him. My oldest son, 17, never fallen out with him in my life. A friend come round and I acted really weird. And the thing was, I had a phone call with my mum, and I was telling her how shit everything was and how I hated everybody and all this sort of thing. And she didn't say a word. Now, normally my mum's like butting in all the time when you're talking. And she didn't say a word. She didn't say a fucking word. And I spoke to her again a week or so later. And she was saying you just sounded like a madman. You just sounded insane, and I knew that I did, but I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it. That's who I was at the time. And it's 4 weeks coming up in, well, it's Wednesday today. Is it Wednesday? Thursday? I fucking don't know. It's Wednesday or Thursday. You lose track of time when you're off work. That's another thing I don't like. And yeah, it's unpleasant to realise that you were that badly injured. Like I say, it's nearly a month, and I've been trying to get back to normal because I'm bored as fuck being at home. Making these videos is quite helpful, quite cathartic. But I'd only been in my last job for 3 weeks, so we're not getting any fucking money. We're skint. I mean, to put a bit of perspective on it, last December, I was out running. I think I did mention this anyway, but I got this pain in my chest and everyone thought it was a heart attack. Yeah, I did mention this. I remember saying it now. So we went all that time with no money, and now we're going all this time with no money as well. And any savings that we had have gone, and we're having to use a credit card to buy food. And food's like really expensive because, the world's teetering on fucking World War III at the moment, thanks to a load of fucking politicians. I could do a video on them cunts because they are scum. Almost to a man and woman and anything in between. Rainbows. They are scum. They are fucking parasites. And it's a certain class of person, and they have been making the lives of working class people shit for fucking thousands of years. Them cunts are like cream. They rise to the top one way or another, and then they fucking fuck us completely and repeatedly and tell us that we're enjoying it. And I don't know how I got onto that. I am even at the best of times, being dyslexic and all the rest of it, I can lose my train of thought. I know I was talking about my injury and my head injury and all that sort of thing, but then I got onto politicians and my strong feelings about them sort of win through. But we've got no money. And you hear on the news today that Rishi fucking motherfucker Sunak has lost over 20 billion to fraud. Lost over fucking 20 billion. Again, throughout the mild cold pandemic, we didn't have a fucking penny. We lost our business, and which was probably good anyway. It was a shit business, but whatever. We lost it. And kids lost all that education. They lost all that mixing with other kids, and fucking we lost it. And now, on top of how much it actually cost, there's 20 billion that was basically given to criminals. I mean, these fucking people. It won't matter to Rishi Sunak. He's a fucking millionaire anyway. And most politicians are wealthy. They have plenty of money. So they have no skin in the game whatsoever. Nothing. Not a fucking thing. Not a fingernail clipping do they have in the game. But people like me and my family, and people that are worse off than me, with all of our fucking skin in the game. And then they're going to start a fucking war, and then we'll have to fucking fight it for them. Not me, because I'm too old now. But I might have to sacrifice my sons for them cunts who waste 20 billion on a fucking cold pandemic. Yeah, I think another video needs to be made. But anyway, I'll sum up now because I'm on 34 minutes, and fuck me, if you've managed to stay listening for this long, well done. You clearly have nothing else in your life to occupy you. So I am currently still off. I'm currently still in quite a lot of pain, but nowhere near as much as I was a month ago. I've got limited movement. My shoulder is deformed and hideous, which doesn't really matter because I'm a 50-year-old man. If I was 20 years old, then I'd be a bit more annoyed. But, I'm old, so who cares? And plus, white skin. Doesn't matter. So yeah, I've got to do a course where I'm going to drive tankers because I don't think I'll be able to work in the previous job that I was only in for 3 weeks anyway. It's too physical for somebody of my age, and it is utterly fucking dangerous. Oh my God. Cycling is dangerous, but the job that I've been doing, oh my God, it's, I don't want to say too much because they're nice people, but fucking hell, it's not a safe job. So I want a safer job and I want to make more money as well for the family. I mean, I've only got probably 15, 20 years left of work in me. So having wasted a lot of time up until now, I really need to pull out my finger. But it's weird though, even my son, hold on, I'll go back to that. I don't know whether I'm going to ride a bike again. Maybe just not racing bikes. They are very fast. And they encourage you to go fast. I don't ride motorbikes anymore because I still have a motorbike, but I was going to use it this year. But after this fucking accident, motorbikes, anything, you come off one of them and it's even worse. Even with leather and armour and a bigger helmet, you're still going to get fucked. So I'm going to sell that. But yeah, and I've stopped riding motorbikes before because of the danger. And when you're on them, and it's a fast bike, you're like, something takes over, and you ride much faster than you should be doing, and then I've done that, and then I've gone, oh, I'm going to sell my bike. I sell my bike, and then a year later or whatever, I get another one. Because feeling danger and experiencing injury are two different things. So yeah, I'm going to sell that, and